If you are in this kind of situation, where your country has effectively been sliced off at the top, and the attacks are still coming from people who say we are going to continue with this until you are finished, run by Iran, which has a so-called ring of fire strategy in which you basically surround Israel on an eight-party front, eight-country front, by a ring of fire to wear it down by attrition so that eventually you destroy it. What would any other country do?
We talk to the Times columnist Giles Coren. Good morning, Giles.
Hi, Steve.
Joining him this week is another Times stalwart. She's an official stalwart. We checked. She does qualify as full-blown stalwart. Melanie Phillips.
Thank you so much. Of course, I'm a national treasure.
I could have said national treasure, and yet I said stalwart.
There are lots of questions still to be answered about the remarkable exploding pager attacks. Those were words we probably never expected to say in the same sentence. But no one really doubts that Israel carried out this ingenious and deadly operation against its enemies on its northern border. Many expected Israel to follow up with a swift attack on Hezbollah before it could regroup, but it has not happened yet. Melanie, as we know, you spend quite a bit of your time in Israel. What were your initial thoughts when you heard about this?
My initial thought was that, first of all, it was an act of technological genius. Secondly, it was a very smart preemptive strike. It is I suppose, a classic military strategy. You wound the enemy in great number so badly that he is therefore at a tremendous disadvantage. And that's the point at which you launch your attack. Now, Israel has been tensed up for a long time now, and this has been accelerating in recent days, over the possibility of the Israel Defense Forces going into Lebanon and finally finishing off Hezbollah. This is because every single day for 11 months there have been dozens and dozens of rocket and drone attacks on northern Israel from Lebanon from the Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. 80,000 Israelis have been displaced from their homes, effectively refugees in their own country for the last 11 months. And these attacks are getting more and more deep into the country, and they're intolerable. So everyone thinks that, the government is about to do something to try to finish Hezbollah once and for all, and Prime Minister Netanyahu has been making noises to that effect. So when this attack happened on the exploding pages, a lot of people thought, right, this is it. But 24 hours have passed and nothing has happened. So everyone is scratching their heads, wondering what on earth the strategy is behind this.
The numbers are still a little bit nebulous, but we think it's about 9 people killed. Thousands have been injured, and some of those obviously will be civilians. You might have seen some of the video yesterday for that marketplace where there was a girl and her mum, and they had to kind of just run away from it as this man was writhing around on the floor. Presumably that's unavoidable?
Well, this is one of those events which nobody thought could happen, in which the enemy in great number was attacked without a missile, attacked in such a way as to almost guarantee that the vast and overwhelming majority of the people who would be hurt would be the operatives of the terrorist military entity. Very, very few civilians injured, as far as I can see, and we don't know the details yet.
There is some talk about another 9-year-old girl possibly being one of the fatalities.
So 2 children, 1 woman, out of 3,000 injuries, 11 dead, who I believe are all Hezbollah people. We don't know what this attack consisted of. We don't know how this was done.
Yeah.
But one theory is that the Israelis somehow got hold of a consignment of these pages and inserted a very small amount of explosive, which was remotely detonated. The point was, it was a very small amount of explosive. It was designed and almost guaranteed to hurt, but not actually kill the person who was holding it in his hand or had it in his pocket. Some were killed.
Yeah.
There are obviously some serious injuries, and a few civilians, I would imagine, were unfortunately injured. But, in war, it is quite extraordinary that whatever Israel does, however precise its munitions, however precisely it targets its munitions, so that to avoid, as far as possible, civilian casualties. And here it is inventing something that nobody ever thought could be done. This degree of precision to attack the enemy without the kind of missile or weapons attack that would, unfortunately, almost inevitably entail a lot of civilian casualties. Once again, Israel is being told, no, this is dreadful. It's an indiscriminate attack. Look, a child has been killed. Another child has been killed. Really, What people are actually saying is that Israel should never defend itself with weapons.
Giles, Coren, what did you make of this attack? The exploding pagers. I mean, it really is something that you have to read a few times before you can actually believe this is what's happened. What were your thoughts?
Well, you see, I think the thing is that what I think about it at this stage in the war doesn't really matter. It's what other people think about it. And as a sort of precise, technologically brilliant attack on the sworn enemies of the Jews, my inclination is to cheer and go hurrah, and that's what people will do. If you think it's another mass killing by a rogue state, and it doesn't really matter how they do it, then it's bad. I don't think Melanie's right that everyone is, and you put the question to her as a devil's advocate, I don't think Melanie's right that everyone is, the moment because a child is killed, everyone is saying, oh, they shouldn't be doing this, it's terrible. They're not. If you, the Times reports, if you look on the comments, which is thousands and thousands and thousands, all Times readers all think it's wonderful and support it and are cheering for it. And obviously there will be people with different then degrees of reasons for not liking Israel who will not like the killing and make a big deal about the girl that's killed. Mossad has this history. I love it when we do something as clever and precise as this. I agree that it is an incredibly precise bit of killing. Had this happened before Israel killed tens of thousands of people with bombs, you'd have said, what a wonderful, progressive, modern, caring way to prosecute a war. They obviously had to respond on the Lebanese border. It's different from Gaza, and they've had the rocket attacks every day. Of course, I think it's absolutely brilliant. There's this very faintly comedic thing about it being pagers, because before you don't know anything, you hear it on the radio, as you said, pagers? Who has a pager? I mean, like maybe a delivery driver, but then this is this 90s technology. But it's brilliant because my wife goes, yeah, everybody knows that pagers are how terrorists communicate, and you think, wow, that is absolutely mind blowing. But we just got to this state where Netanyahu is going to fire his defense minister, that people are worried about his motivations for doing things, and it's just. How is it going to play? Is it going to be? There's also, if Israel can do this, why do they carry on bombing? It's horrifically complex. But I'm instinctively, I just think hurrah, it's brilliant.
Well, presumably Hamas don't have pagers, Giles.
I don't know enough about Hamas. Do they not?
Well, I presume that if they did, that you would think that Israel would perhaps have gone for them before Hezbollah.
I don't know. It's a slightly different organization, isn't it? I have no idea what kind of technology they use. Maybe they still use the post. And it's I think at this stage where Gaza is just really just a bomb site, I think them blowing up the pages would be probably not necessary.
And we actually had a guy from Shin Bet on, and he said that he was disappointed actually, the point that Melanie was making. And I couldn't, because we didn't have a very good line to him, so we couldn't really explore the point. But his argument was, I think, the same as Melanie's, which is he wants them to go after the people who run Hezbollah, and you do this, and then you actually go after and kill the leaders of Hezbollah. And he's disappointed that they've done part one but not part two, which I think is the point that you were making, Melanie. And do you feel that there will be some form of, you think Israel will be compelled by its citizens to do something else?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is an intolerable situation. Something like, I don't know, I think it's something like 8,000 rocket missile drone attacks on northern Israel since October 7. They're increasing in scope and range. They have killed people. Large amounts of the northern Israel have been basically burned to the ground. People are displaced permanently from their homes. Israel has effectively been shrunk. People in America, the Biden administration says, oh, this has to be resolved by negotiation. Now, this ongoing onslaught on Israel from Lebanon has been going on for a very long time. And a long time ago, there were negotiations. They led to a UN resolution, as a result of which a UN force was put in Lebanon to stop the Hezbollah and keep it behind the Litani River, where it couldn't apparently do much harm. The UN force has proved to be not only useless, but to have sat there passively while this vast infrastructure of 250,000 plus missiles has been embedded in the civilian population in southern Lebanon, which is now being used to attack Israel. This cannot go on. Hezbollah has to be defeated once and for all. Now, this is a fearsome prospect for everybody. but also for Israel, because if Hezbollah is attacked in that way by Israel, then everyone expects that those 250,000 missiles will start to be properly unleashed, in which case you're going to see very heavy civilian casualties in Israel. It's an option that very few people want in an ideal world. But if you are in this kind of situation, where your country has effectively been sliced off at the top, and the attacks are still coming from people who say we are going to continue with this until you are finished, run by Iran, which has a so-called ring of fire strategy in which you basically surround Israel on an eight-party front, eight-country front, by a ring of fire to wear it down by attrition so that eventually you destroy it. What would any other country do? Would Israel, would Britain, if it had one missile with a battery of 250,000 missiles behind it, would it sit back and say, well, we must negotiate with these people? I mean, this is the fearsome dilemma that Israel is facing.
And whether they actually do anything about it beyond this first step is the thing that we're going to see over the next 48 hours.
We just don't know at present.
And whether Hezbollah, backed by Iran, do something in return is, of course, the other argument that has to have an answer, you would imagine, in the next 48 hours or so.